Alright, welcome to the fifth and final tutorial of the iGame Creators class. Now, this may be the final video tutorial, however, you'll notice on the Schoolology that there is other sections, like the sixth section that are on there, that will have more advanced games and other ideas. So, this may be the last video that you watch in this series, however, there are more options online for continuing your education within the Scratch program. So, this final one is going to be creating a maze game. Now, since you guys know your way around Scratch pretty well, I'm going to kind of show you the basics, whereas I'm not going to make a full maze. There's a great idea for a maze on the PDF format of this class, and you can also get inspiration from online or make your own. So I'll show you how to do all the programming and everything like that, and I'll leave the maze design up to your imagination. So, to start with, we're going to go ahead and choose an object to go through our maze. You may want to just keep this cat. You may want to do something else. In my case, I am going to use, let's see here, something fun. I'm going to use the chick as the object in my maze. So I have the chick here. I'm going to go ahead and delete the original sprite as we have been doing. So I'm left with the chick and my screen here. So, first thing that we are going to do is go ahead and code our object here. The only programming that it's going to have is instructions for moving with the arrow keys on your keyboard, as well as a set of programming for if you happen to run into the maze and it'll restart it to the finish. So, we are going to go over and grab a when green flag is clicked and drag it on into our programming. We are then going to need a forever loop inside of our control tab. And you can do this next part in any order that you wish. However, just for the sake of making this tutorial a little bit faster for you, I'm going to go ahead and drag all four at once. We need 4 if-then statements, all on top of each other, but still inside the forever loop, because this is going to correspond to the 4 arrow keys on our keyboard. So we want to make sure that we program each one of them to move our object. We are going to then go to the Sensing tab and then click on the key space pressed. We want to put one of these inside of each if-then statement. So not inside of it, but on the top, if key space pressed then. So you can go ahead and do that for each one while we have it open here. So it should look like something like this now. Now, we don't want to be pushing the space key, we want to be using the arrow keys, and we have to make sure that we program each one separately. So this first one, I'm going to do the up arrow. The next one, I'm going to do the right arrow key. The next one will be the down arrow key, and I bet you guessed by now this last one will be the left arrow key because that is all that's left. So up, right, down, left. Now, inside of each one of these, we now have to tell what it's going to do. To do that, I'm going to go to the Motion tab, and this first one is going to be my up arrow key. So I need to change Y by, place it inside of our if-then statement. Change Y by, I'm going to click inside of here and change it to 1. So it's going to change Y by a speed of 1 when the up arrow key is pressed. For the right arrow key, I need to change X by, we're going to change the horizontal component, again by 1. So change Y by 1, change X by 1. For the down arrow key, we need to change Y by again, but this time, since we want it to move downwards, we're going to use a -1. So change Y by -1, so this way the down arrow key will move it downwards. And lastly, the left arrow key, we need it to move to the left. So we're going to take change X by, and inside of our box, we're going to type in -1, -1. So that way it's going to move our object to the left here. The next thing that we are going to do is inside of our forever loop, we are going to use an if-then statement again below here. Control tab, if blank then, That's now going to go under the last if-then statement, but still inside of our forever loop. We're now going to go to the Sensing tab and select Touching Color ? And we're going to put that inside of our if-then statement. And we're going to go ahead and leave that color the same by now because we're going to be changing that to the color of our maze that we make. And the last block of program we need in here is in the Motion tab. It says go to X blank Y blank. This is going to be where we input the coordinates of where our object starts. That way each time if you run into the maze, you're going to restart the maze to the beginning of it. And that'll go inside of our if-then statement here. So this is going to be it for our programming. Besides later on, we're going to go back and just change the coordinates here and the color here. And we need to go ahead and make a background for our maze now. So in order to do that, we're going to hover over the background section here in the bottom right of the screen. And we're just going to move the mouse cursor up to the paint button. Once you're inside of here, you can paint your maze. So like I said, for inspiration, you can look online, you can look at the PDF format of this class, or you can come up with whatever you want. Now, this whole maze needs to be one solid color. It doesn't matter what color it is, but for my case, I'm going to do black. To change the color, you'll just click the drop down on the fill here, and you can change your color to whatever you'd like it to be. And then we're going to want to make sure that we have the paintbrush selected over here. Yours will probably default to the cursor, so make sure you click the paintbrush. We are then just going to click and drag to create our maze. So make sure that you are holding down the clicker on the mouse pad to draw this. So for mine, I'm just going to do something simple like this for now. Again, yours may be much more complex than this. This is just for the sake of showing you how to do this. So you'll see when I draw, it'll show up over here on the screen. Next, once you are fully finished with your maze, and you can always go back and change this by just clicking on the Backdrops tab up here or the Backdrops tab over here, we're going to go back over here and click on the Code button in the top left. After you do that, you notice it may be blank. You'll want to make sure that you click on the object that you were using. In my case, it's the chick, and now all of our programming will show back up again. Now, since our object is too large to fit through this maze without touching it, we need to resize it. To do that, we'll just make sure it's selected here, and inside of our size window, it's going to default to 100, but I need to make mine smaller. So you may try 50, which will make it half as big. You may try an even smaller number all the way down to 0. You can do whatever size that you want. So you'll find whatever size works for you. It looks like 40 for me will be good. It'll make it a little bit difficult. Hopefully I can get through there. I may not be able to, and if I can't, I'll just go back and resize it again using this tool here. So the last thing that we need to do is go back over to our programming and click on the color that is inside the touching color. I'll click on this color here, and you'll notice that it has this little dropper icon down here. Now, if you make it just something simple like black, you could select it on here. But I would recommend always using this button towards the bottom here, and it's going to bring up this little picker tool that zooms in. So you see when I go over the line, the outside of the circle will light up the color that mine is. So I'll want to go over the solid part of the line, the circle's lighting up with black, and I want to click. That's going to change this color to the exact color that I used on here. So if you use something like red or purple or something, you'll want to make sure that you use that method to find it. The last thing that we need to do is tell the coordinates of this go to X and Y of where the start is of our maze. So if you notice when I have the chick here and I move it around, this X and Y value over here are going to change. So I'm going to place them at what I want to be the start of my maze. I notice that my X value is -29 and my Y value is 132. So I'm going to want to type that in to here. So it says go to X. I'm going to type in my X value of -29, and the Y value I have 132. So I'll type in 132. What that's going to do is if my object runs into the wall, it's going to reset to here. So now that I have that, I'll go ahead and test it. I can move my arrow keys in here, and if I happen to run into the wall, it's going to go back up to the top if you saw that there. So I'll go down, run into the wall, and I'll go back up to the top. Go ahead and stop it. So as far as the tutorial goes, that's all that we have for this. If you feel like that you can farther this game, you may want to find a way to create a score. So maybe if you make it all the way to the end and come in contact with like a flag or some object, you can increase your score by 1. But if your object comes in contact with the wall and you have to restart, you may decrease your score by 1. So that's all I have for this tutorial. Thank you for enrolling in this class. And if you're looking for more ideas, make sure to check out the 6th section of the online class. Thank you.